All right, here we are, the quadratic equation, the quadratic formula. It's example one of probably three examples of a couple of other things thrown in the middle. I think you can see this okay. Our first problem is this. Ignore the, this is our first problem. We have x squared plus 12x plus 5 equals negative 15. Now this is doesn't really tell us a whole lot. It's a quadratic function where you get an x, you put x as the input, and you get a y. In this case, the y value is negative 15. All this tells us right off the bat is at some point at a negative 15, which is the y value down in here, somewhere down here, the graph, the parabola goes through the point, some x value in negative 15. Don't know where it is, don't know if there's 1 point or if there's 2 points. All right, but at some point there's an ordered pair. There's an x value that matches up with a negative 15. Either one or there might be two x values. But we don't want to know where. We don't want to, well, we care, but we don't really care where it crosses negative 15 right now. What we care about is finding the solution. We want to know where the parabola crosses 0. Okay, so we really would rather have this here be 0 than negative 15, because 0 would be the coordinate for the y value for the x value that we want to find. It's the 0 in an ordered pair. So how do we turn the 15 to 0? Well, you just erase it and make it 0? No. You add 15 to both sides, so we get this. So here's our related function, where we have the function, and now we have it setting equals 0. So it's the same thing. We're looking for, on the graph, an ordered pair, or what x value can you have where you're still at, where the y value is 0. So we're going to use the quadratic formula. So this is what we'll do. The x value we're looking for is going to equal negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, identify them. The a value is 1. The b value is 12. And the c value is 20. A is 1, B is 12, C is 20. Now don't just go running off for your calculators and start pushing buttons to try and get this answer. You'll need paper and pencil. You're going to need to write them out. Sorry, but you need to. Get a little raspy there. All right, so x equals, that's what we're trying to find. Negative b, that's 12 is the b value. So I have negative 12. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. I'm going to write it out. I'm not just going to throw it in there. B squared minus 4a. I'm going to write it. I'm not doing it under my head right now. Times 1. 4a and c is 20. All over 2 times a, which is, I'm going to write that 2 times 1. So that's my formula. I've plugged in the values to the quadratic formula to find x. Now I know what some of you are saying out there. You're saying, but wait, this is way too complicated. Because some of you are looking at this formula here, at this trinomial, and you're saying, whoa, that 20 and that 12, I'm seeing if I can factor those easier than going through all this. And yes, are there factors of 20 whose sum is 12? If so, we don't need to do this. But I'm going to do it anyway to make you to show you how easy this how it works out. So we've plugged in the values. Now I want to evaluate them. I have negative 12. Now the place for error is going to be under the radical. That's always the confusing part. Negative 12 plus or minus, here we go. Let's figure this stuff out right here. 12 times 12 is 144. Minus 4 times 1 times 20. 4 times 1 is 4, times 20 is 80. All of that over 2. 2 times 1. So let's now take a little sidebar right here as I make my thought bubble. I go somewhere and I want to figure out what is 144 minus 80. Old school it. I can even, 144 minus 80, 64. Oh, what a relief. There's nothing better then when that comes out as a perfect square, which 64 is. So I'm going to rewrite it again. Running out of room, and I can do this. Negative 12 plus the square root of 64. Let me erase that. Wait, what is the square root of 64? 8. Let me do it this way. Negative 12 plus the square root of, pause this a second. Okay, I took a pause there so I'm running out of room. It's getting kind of dark. So what we had is that we got the square root of 64 is 8. All right. So what we've done here is I went ahead and we got this negative 12 plus root 64 divided by 2. And the other value is going to be negative 12 minus root 64 divided by 2. So when you take, since root 64 is 8, this is what you end up with. You have negative 12 plus 8 over 12, and you have negative 12 minus 8 over 2. They're both over 2. Negative 12 plus 8 over 2, negative 12 minus 8 over 2. Erase those simply, and that's what we end up when we simplify these down here. So now we take the answers. Negative 12 minus 8 is negative 20 over 2, which is negative 10. So one of your answers is negative 10. Negative 8, or negative 12 minus 8 is negative, I made a mistake, again on purpose. Negative 12 plus 8 is negative 4 over 2 for negative 2. Negative 12 minus 8 is negative 20 over 2 for negative 10. So the two solutions, negative 2 and negative 10. And if you remember to factor this, factors of 20, two factors of 20 whose sum is 12 happens to be 12 and 10. So that also would work if you factored it. But that's your first example of the quadratic. Be careful of everything under the radical sign. Write them out, take your time, and you'll get the answer. So that's example 1. A couple more coming up, and we'll pause that right there. So end of number 1.